Hello and welcome to the Anjurati studio. I'm joined now by Regis Hourdouillie, who is the Global Offering Lead for Smart Grid and Control at Ericsson. Regis, firstly, welcome. Thank you for making the time to be here. And we're talking a little bit with Marie at the back, or one of your colleagues, about the whole ecosystem and the dynamics changing within the market. But the question I wanted to ask is, what does an ICT company like Ericsson kind of bring to the distribution network offering and things like that?
Well, historically, ICT has not been a concern of utilities. It was more a pain that they had to suffer. And today, with the Internet of Things, it becomes very important. I mean, you have to connect meters, electric vehicle charging system, transformers, and so on. So what Ericsson can bring here is really the best practices from the ICT world, and especially the telecom world. By best practices, I mean, for instance, in designing the network. That's, for instance, what we do for a gas company in France at the moment, doing the radio planning. Best practices in deployment of a network. So we deployed, for instance, an LTE network, a 4G network for house grid in Australia for the grid reliability use cases. And also I would say the integration and the operations of a telecommunication solution. So that's what we did, for instance, in North America for Hydro One and Pepco, where we manage different IP network and legacy networks. So it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah. So, and what are the sort of transferable elements from a telecoms world? Because in this world where people talk about big data, but you haven't seen big data until you go to a telecoms world. That's a huge amount of data. What are some of the transfers that you're seeing from the technology application?
Well, there are transfers from, different axes. One is the methodology. The methodology is really how to approach the customer needs, listen to the customer, trying to identify what is the same as in a telecom operator network. For instance, the product may be the same, the IP routers, some may be different, so that's why you have to understand the specificities of the use cases. For instance, if you have teleprotection, you need a very low latency, so you can use some of our microwave products, but you cannot use any microwave product. So it's true for the design of a network, it's true for the products, and it's true also for the deployment, where you have sometimes electromagnetic compatibilities. So all in all, every time you need to have a specific approach where you see the product and the methodology, and you have to customize it for the utility.
And what other things does Ericsson bring in terms of how you actually help utilities go into this area? And you touched on some of them just in your last answer, but are there some other elements as well?
I think there are two main points. One is how do you migrate from the legacy system to the new system? We have this vision. It's very good to have a vision, but how do you get there? I can take the example of Ambient, the solution that we acquired a couple of weeks ago. It's a gateway that bridges the gap between the legacy system and the traditional 3G, 4G system. So that's one. Second is, once you have a communication, what do you do with the data? I think that's your question. Well, you can use the data to do data analytics, service enablement, build new application, whether for customers or for the grid control or for the grid asset management. And this is exactly what we are working on at the moment with utilities.
And is that where you're sort of taking the skill sets within Ericsson to actually help deliver the vision side of things? Because it's all well and good orchestrating this whole new paradigm, this whole new network, but you then have to make it work, don't you?
Yep.
New skills and things like that.
Exactly. As usual, devil is in the details. From far away, it all looks the same. If you go to the field, you need to have people who know the difference between the traditional telco way and the way the utilities use the same product. And here we come as industry experts. That's why we have recruited quite many industry experts to do that today.
And but just sort of drilling that side of it a little bit further, I mean, where do you see utilities need the biggest sort of help in terms of the vision side of things? Because we were discussing again a little bit off air where this new element of IT coming into the utility space, where's the real pain point for what is a traditional utility in maximizing?
Well, the traditional pain point, as I said at the beginning, is the communication network. But if you try to look a bit more forward, the pain point will be, what do you do with all this data? And we go back here to the data analytics. And to do this data analytics, it's not just having a tool, it's having the right data scientist who can understand what the data can be used for. So it's really a combination, an ecosystem of companies, Ericsson, the utility, specialized small companies, all together and having a joint project and bringing value.
And this is where you would bring in data scientists and work with the utilities and say, right, okay,
exactly.
Here's how we can integrate.
And we view our role as an integrator, as a coordinator of all these resources. That's our strength. That's what we learn from doing big telecom projects. And that's what we learn from doing innovative projects for telco.
Yeah. And as we're coming to the end of our time, and just staying on that vision piece a little bit, what would you say is the biggest thing in terms of the vision side and the data analytics side that you've kind of brought to bear within the utility world?
Now, I would say the big transformation is really the Internet of Things. So everybody talks about the Internet of Things, but what does it mean? For utility, it means either in some countries a lot of renewable, and how do you manage it so that the grid doesn't collapse? For other countries, it will mean the electric vehicle. If you add 2 million electric vehicles tomorrow, what do you do so the grid doesn't collapse? So it's really this communication with all these resources and how you keep the balance in the grid. I think that's the number one issue for utilities.
And thank you for that, because that's all we've got time for today. And thank you as well for watching. I hope you got a flavor of how Ericsson is delivering on the vision, but also all the way across the value stack. And thanks again for watching this interview.